Hi, everyone, and welcome to our monthly webinar. My name is Jeanette Rodriguez, and I'm the program coordinator for the Riverside Medical Clinic Charitable Foundation. First off, I want to thank our sponsor, the Riverside Medical Clinic, for all their support. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Debbie Johnson, and I want to give you a little background on her. Debbie Johnson is a wellness educator born and raised locally in Riverside. She teaches from a perspective that wellness is a state of complete physical, emotional, and spiritual social well-being. Her passion is to help people lead a holistic life. Debbie believes and shares wellness through her writing at groundedliving.blog. She also teaches on how integrating essential oils into our daily lives can help reduce stress levels, support brain function, boost energy levels, and balance our emotions. Debbie is a member of Riverside's Purple City Alliance and sits on the committee of the Riverside Walk to End Alzheimer's. So Debbie, go ahead and take the floor.
Okay, good evening. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about how essential oils can help take us off the emotional roller coaster and how they actually help with prostate cancer and recovering from prostate cancer. So first, what I'd like to do, and I'm kind of cheating here, I have a little bit of PowerPoint for myself. So I'd like for you to understand a little bit about essential oils and how they actually work. So I'm sure many of you have seen lavender essential oil or heard of a lavender essential oil. Lavender is the most common. Therapeutic grade essential oils are concentrated plant extracts. They retain the natural aroma and essence of their source plants. So when I'm actually inhaling this, I'm smelling lavender, but I'm also getting all of the source and goodness out of that plant. Essential oils are made up of minuscule molecules, teeny tiny ones that can deliver healing to all systems of our body. They penetrate and work at a cellular level, and they're so tiny that they can actually cross the blood-brain barrier. So they're just extremely tiny. They go places where other things cannot go. They have a natural constituent. Each oil has a different constituent makeup. So if you were to say a constituent makeup, if I were to make a batch of chocolate chip cookies, I would put in very specific ingredients to make sure that those chocolate chip cookies, each little thing in there makes that chocolate chip cookie. If I compare it to making a pan of bread, I'm going to put something entirely different in there. That's how essential oils are. They each have different makeups. So that's why lavender calms us and peppermint energizes us, because they're both extremely different. They have a different chemical, natural chemical makeup. The most common constituents, and I'm going to read these just to make sure that I get them correct. Most common constituents are phenols. Phenols actually cleanse cell receptor sites to work better. Sesquiterpenes, that's a tongue twister, erase incorrect info in the DNA or your cell memory. And this will come in handy in just a few minutes, you'll understand. Monoterpenes help reprogram the actual cell itself. These constituents work collectively to correct your body and the wellness level. There is a lot that I'm going to go over, so if you do want to take notes, you're welcome to. I know that Jeanette has quite a bit of information I've given her that she will have afterwards, but if you do have a pen and paper, and now would be the time to grab it, just because I'm going to go over quite a bit. This will be recorded, but just in case you want to take your own notes so they make sense to you. How do essential oils interact in our bodies? We have receptors. So if you think of, if you were to touch a piece of ice with your fingers, You can feel the cold. That's your receptors working in the ends of your fingers. So receptors are proteins, and I'm going to read this as well. Receptors are proteins that specifically bind with different types of molecules to facilitate chemical communication with our bodies. You have millions of receptors in your body, but we focus on the ones that handle touch, taste, and smell. A lot of it comes with smell, and you've heard of probably aromatherapy. When the essential oil compound binds to the receptors, they trigger effects in our body, and this is what makes them work. Essential oils actually help to our bodies to heal itself. So it's different, it works in a different way than we think of as the typical pharma. It helps our body work from the inside. We'll call it kind of the inside out. Next thing I'm going to cover is, just because an oil, essential oil, says it's therapeutic grade, doesn't mean that oil is therapeutic grade or that it'll work therapeutically or curatively. The ways you can tell, there are several ways you can tell whether an oil is going to work therapeutically, because a company can print on their label therapeutic, but they can also add extenders to that oil. And what that means is, let me give you an example. If you were to brew a cup of coffee, and you were to brew that coffee, and you put in the coffee grounds, and you put in the water, and you got that cup of coffee there, that would be a very nice cup of coffee. It would have what it's supposed to have in it. But if I went back and used those same grounds, and I put more water in it, and then I put that cup of coffee, that empty cup, back under there, you're going to have the remnants of that coffee. It's not going to be as strong. It's not going to be as tasty. It's not going to have as much caffeine. That's similar to an extender. So we don't want extenders added into our essential oils. How can you tell? Well, there's a couple different ways. First off, what you want to do is you want to look and see on your essential oil, and I'm going to actually put my glasses on so I can actually read it. On an essential oil, you have a label. Okay, and this one says lavender. But down here, it says ingredients, and I'm not going to probably pronounce this right. Lavandula angustifolia. So if it says the actual plant name on here, that's one clue. The other thing, it does say 100% therapeutic grade essential oil. It tells me who it's distributed by. It gives me a lot number. That's very important. You probably can't see it, but there's a lot number. It says lot number 3580, and it has this little barcode. So this label is very important. It's also going to give you directions as how to use it, topically or aromatically. It's also going to tell you how many drops and whether to use it, neat, which is basically pouring it straight out of the bottle onto your body, or if you're going to mix it with a carrier oil. So a carrier oil is, we'll cover that in just a few minutes. The other way you can tell, and I'll explain to you, it says what therapeutic grade means is every essential oil distilled includes the purest, natural occurring blend of constituents to maximize that desired effect. So what we're doing is every process that we take on that oil is we're making sure that it has as much of those constituents as possible through the process of the seed. Is the seed organically grown? How was the seed tended to? How is the plant tended to? Do we know what farm it came from? Do we manage those farms, or is it just a farm somewhere? I would be really careful with a company that says, I don't know where my oils are grown, because then you don't know whether there were chemicals used on that oil, what was done. So know the source of where the seeds, where the plants are coming from. The company you buy from should manage or oversee their partner farms. Where is their what is their sourcing standard? In other words, find out what their agricultural practices are, harvesting, extraction method, distillation, and testing. Honestly, this bottle has been tested about 60 times before it even hit my hand. And then what you get, what you pay for. So 1 drop goes a long way. Each 5 milliliter bottle, which is this, contains 125 to 150 drops. So there are honestly, I obviously represent one company, and there are honestly probably less than a handful of companies that I would recommend somebody using for essential oils. And why do you want to know all these things? Because you're putting them into your body. It's important to know what's going into your body. Just like we want to know where the water comes from, what kind of vegetables we're eating. All of those are very important things to know, what you're putting into your body. Ways to use essential oils. You can diffuse them, and many of you have seen a diffuser. This is what a diffuser can look like. There are many, many styles and shapes. So basically you've got a diffuser, and what you do is if you haven't ever seen one, basically you put water in here. You put usually about 3 to 7 drops of essential oil in here. Cover this, plug it in, and then it literally diffuses. You see it looks like steam, but it's mist coming out. So that's one way to use it, is to diffuse. The other way is to actually take and inhale it. I prefer to use a diffuser because I tend to diffuse for 15 minutes to an hour, and to sit and go like this, to cup it in my hands and inhale it, is a lengthy process, unless I was sitting watching TV or something and just doing that. This is a little more potent, so you'd probably have to inhale it for maybe 5 minutes or so to get the effect. The other thing you can do is apply it as a perfume right here on your earlobes where you can smell it. So, and there is jewelry if you wanted to go that route, which you can, there's jewelry here, you can get jewelry actually to wear, and you can smell it. So that's inhalation, or what we call aromatherapy. The other thing is you can apply it to your body. You can take it and you can actually take a drop, and your feet are one of the tougher parts of your body. So when you're first starting out, you want to be gentle. And because you're putting something new into your body, whether it's natural or not, your body has to adjust to it. So what you want to do is I'm going to put it here. So I can put it on my pulse point and just drop it like this. And I'm used to this. So you probably saw 2 drops fall out. I would suggest just 1 drop when you first start out. And the best way to test it is actually on your forearm. And you test it. And if any type of, probably within 10-15 minutes, if you're going to get your body's going to have any type of reaction, you'll get it right here. And then you can apply it to your wrist, your pulse points, because that's going to go through your body, and essential oil will actually go through your body, either through your pulse points, your feet, in about 10 to 15 minutes, and get started working on where your body actually needs that oil. If you're using, if you have digestive issues, you want to apply the specific oil to that particular area of your body. So if you've got digestive issues up here, you would apply it up here. If it's down in the tummy area, then you apply it there. If you have a muscle ache and it's here, or if it's in your thighs, you have tight thighs, you want to apply it there. So So any type of pains that you have, or then you would apply it directly to that particular area. The last way you can take essential oils is to ingest them. Now, if you look and read, there are some people say yes, ingest them, and other people say no. The company that I represent has a specific line. It's called Vitality, and the FDA has recognized this. It makes it very simple. Basically, if I know something's in the Vitality line, this is Peppermint. If I know something's in the Vitality line, I know that I can actually ingest it. So I know that I can take a drop of peppermint, put it in my water, and ingest it and be comfortable. The other thing you would need to do is you would need to go to the FDA's website and look at which essential oil is generally regarded as safe, or they put grass. So I can actually ingest it. And it's not going to do me any harm whatsoever because, again, I know that it says Vitality, so I know I'm safe to do that. So that's just the company that I work for makes it simple. But again, if you want to, you look for GRAS, or generally regarded as safe. Okay, I'm going to totally switch gears now. If you have any questions on what I actually went through, which was a lot in a short period of time, let Jeanette know, chat the questions. What I'm going to do is switch to the essential oils that actually help with prostate cancer and prostate cancer survivors. There are challenges that you're going to face that I'm never going to know what they are. What I'm going to do is, we're talking about emotional roller coaster. I'm going to cover some that are literally going to help us emotionally. But the other ones I'm going to cover ED, I'm going to cover incontinence, and I'm going to cover muscle pain. So all of these I'm going to cover because if you have any one of those three things, they're going to cause you mental challenges as well, or emotional challenges as well. So these are what I'm going to cover. I am going to read a small tidbit, and Jeanette has this as well. It's a research article that was pulled from a government website that is called PubMed. It says anti-cancer properties of essential oils and other natural products. And I've shortened this, and I'm going to read it just to make sure I don't butcher this article. It says research on the application of essential oils as anti-cancer therapeutic agents is relatively new. Approximately half of conventional chemotherapy agents have plant origin, with roughly 25% directly derived from plants and 25% being chemically modified versions of phytoproducts. So basically they've taken and I'll say cloned a plant portion. So one such molecule, see if I can pronounce this, is paclitaxel, of which the most common brand is Taxol, was originally derived from the bark of the tree Taxus brevifolia. Essential oils have been shown to possess anti-cancer properties through various mechanisms, including cancer preventive mechanisms, as well as acting on the established tumor cell itself in interaction with a microenvironment. In research, D-limonene, which is found very high in your citrus oils, was helpful to prostate cancer. Boswellia sacra, or frankincense, also shows help to fighting cancer. I do have a friend that had, it wasn't prostate cancer, it was another type of cancer, it was esophageal, but in his daily regimen, along with taking an antioxidant drink, he makes sure that he takes frankincense and myrrh, which I'll cover in just a moment, on a daily basis because of this research. Essential oils have been shown to possess a wide range of anti-cancer properties and mechanisms, considering the myriad of components present and the mechanism and synergistic capabilities of essential oil extracts. Remember how I said it works in tandem with your body? So the synergistic capabilities of essential oil, it's of paramount importance to perform further studies regarding evaluation on how essential oil minor components contribute to the overall effect of the essential oil mixture. So that's just a little bit on from this research page, which has a lot. And again, Jeanette has this if you want to read it. So she has it, and you can get a copy from her on that. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead through the therapeutic grade essential oils that can help with the emotional, spiritual, and physical side of the effects of prostate cancer. The oils that I'm going to cover have other properties or other ways they work within the body, but what I'm going to cover tonight is only the ones that apply to the effects of prostate cancer. So the first one, which I talked about earlier, is frankincense. So frankincense is a resin that is tapped and then distilled, and it has a very, very woodsy smell. And if it doesn't smell heavy, then run from it, because it's going to be it's going to have had some of those extenders in it. I've had people smell this and they've said, but it's so strong, and that's because it works. Frankincense is well known for its ability to reduce pain and inhibit the spread of cancer. Research shows that frankincense reduces inflammation, which can be especially beneficial when suffering from prostatitis, and has the ability to suppress cancer cell viability. Use frankincense. I'm going to tell you how to use each of these. I went through the options. I'm going to tell you how to use them. Use frankincense topically by applying it to the area right below the genitals, or use it internally by placing 2 drops on the roof of the mouth for 6 weeks at a time. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about something real quick. Because we're dealing with tissue that is very, very sensitive, what I'm going to suggest is you get a coconut oil, an olive oil, all very pure grade, organic if you can, and take and put approximately a quarter size. I'm not going to put that much in the palm of my hand now, but put a quarter size in the palm of your hand, and then put 1 drop. I know I said 2, but when you're first starting out, I suggest you go slow. And then what you do is you rub it together, and then you rub it on the genitals, because if you're not used to it, I don't want you to have any reaction, but I want it to work. And I know we talked about extenders. A carrier oil is not an extender. What it does, it is actually allows, it's an oily oil, where the essential oil is not oily. So what it does is it basically allows the essential oil time to get into the body. So it's kind of, in some ways, giving it time to work itself in there so that it doesn't tend to, we'll call it, bite the skin as quickly. Now, frankincense is a very, very, very mild essential oil. But again, that's my suggestion when you first get started. As you start using them more and more, you'll find what your body can tolerate. Myrrh essential oil. And I know we're talking about frankincense and myrrh, and yes, they were in the Bible for a reason, because they're very, very good at doing what they do. Myrrh essential oil is another resin. And it's known to have anti-cancer and antibacterial benefits. It also can be used to relax the muscles. So if you have any tension, this one, myrrh has almost a non-smell. It's a very, very, very light fragrance. It can be used, it's helpful to relax the muscles, which can be helpful when dealing with an enlarged prostate. A study published in Oncology Letters investigated the potential anti-cancer activities of myrrh oil and found that certain cancer cell lines showed increased sensitivity to both myrrh and frankincense oil. Myrrh can be applied topically to the area below the genitals twice daily. So if you ask me, can you use both of these together? Yes. Yes, I would. And again, I would start using a carrier oil and using 1 drop and working your way up to 2 drops twice a day. Next, we're going to go to essential oils that literally support us emotionally and overall wellness. What we have, and the reason they work, the aromatherapy, which I talked about, the diffuser, the reason it works so well is it goes into our nose, which is the olfactory system. Then it goes into the limbic system. The limbic system is the center of our moods and emotions. So if you understand, it works similarly to if you walk into a room and you have a favorite cookie or you have a favorite bread smell, that is going to elicit moods and emotions. And this is the same way that the essential oils will work. It stimulates those moods and emotions when it goes into the limbic system. And then from the limbic system, it goes throughout the rest of the body. So what I'm going to cover first is the one we talked about before, which is lavender essential oil. So lavender essential oil, it's going to smell much stronger than your lavender plant because this is extremely concentrated. So lavender essential oil is calming. It balances emotions. It supports a good night's sleep. And you can diffuse or inhale this. You honestly can apply it, but I'm just suggesting that for what you're doing, I think diffusing it is going to give you the best results. Now, peppermint, which we talked about, has the opposite effect. It is energizing. It enhances concentration. It settles an upset stomach. So if you're wanting to energize, or if you're wanting to enhance your concentration, it's also great to put on the back of your neck if you have tension back here. If you have a tension headache, it's great for that. What you want to do is you can, for peppermint, you can diffuse it for energizing and enhancing concentration. For a tension headache or for tight muscles, you want to put it directly on where it's tight. And then it's often settles an upset stomach. It's often used for diarrhea. And if that were the case, you could rub it on your stomach, but honestly, I would ingest it. And I'm going to tell you a secret. This is a vitality oil, and this vitality oil is what Young Living has had the FDA certified that vitality can be ingested. I can tell you that our other oils are just as pure. So if you look at these two, you have lavender and peppermint. The lavender is in a colored label and the peppermint is in a white label. The white says vitality. The vitality can be ingested, diffused, or applied. Honestly, I personally would ingest, apply, or diffuse a colored label as well if I know it's in the vitality line. If you have any questions with that gobbledygook that I just said, please do ask me directly. Put it in your questions. The other one that is great, and the next couple I'm going to go over are actually proprietary blends from our company. What we've done is we've actually combined several different essential oils that have various properties that mix together. And again, they're not extended, they're pure essential oils, but they've been blended together. This is called Stress Away. It's a proprietary blend of 5 essential oils, including cedarwood, lime, copaiba, tea, which you've probably never heard of, and lavender. And it aids people under chronic stress. It promotes relaxation. And I can actually smell a lot. What I can smell in this is a mixture. If you were to take vanilla and a lime and put them together, that's kind of the smell of this one. So it has that little just vanilla-ish lime, and lime is actually a happy oil. So that's why Stress Away is so important. Now, when we talked about this research paper, we talked about D-limonene, and I said D-limonene was in the citrus oils. Lemon is very high in D-limonene. So we heard about this and we know that it has cancer-fighting properties. I feel comfortable in putting a drop of lemon essential oil in my water daily. It's detoxing to the body. It makes your water taste absolutely wonderful. It can also be diffused. It's very uplifting. It's very cleansing for the house. And it just, it's actually made from the rind. So you know, if you have a lemon, you have the lemon juice, but then you have the rind, you know how much more concentrated that rind is. It just has that just yummy, almost like a lemon meringue pie taste in your essential oil. So let us go on to a couple more. I'm trying to go as slow as I can so you can catch up. The next proprietary blend, and this is one of my go-tos, it's called Peace and Calming. So Peace and Calming is a blend of orange, patchouli, tangerine, blue tansy, and what's called Ylang Ylang. And I'll talk about Ylang Ylang in just a few minutes. It is absolutely amazing. I tend to diffuse it every morning because I tend to run on high. So I tend to run on go, go, go. So I diffuse it first thing in the morning to bring me kind of down and relaxed. It will bring me down and relax me in probably about 5 minutes after inhaling it. It's just, for me, it's amazing. I can just go into a room and I'll pull down my, my stress level just almost immediately. It supports a good night's sleep. And it encourages a very calm atmosphere. So the other day, we're actually living with our daughter, son-in-law, and our granddaughter who's 2, and it gets a little bit hectic with a 2-year-old, and so it was just a little bit hectic that morning. So basically what I did was put Peace and Calming into the kitchen where everybody was to pull that mood down and just pull into a relaxing mood. So that's what Peace and Calming does. Another one that is a helps in depression and blue mood is called Valor. And Valor honestly will do the same thing for me. It will actually, I'll diffuse it for maybe 5 to 10 minutes when I'm in a very blue, sullen mood, and I will be out of that blue, sullen mood. Now, this is not a replacement for any type of, if you've got, you know, major depression, something like that, obviously you need to see somebody about that. But when you're in that blue, sullen mood, that's something that you can just diffuse. Kind of like, what it almost feels like is kind of like you've been in the house all day and it's been cloudy and you just feel like that cloudiness and heaviness is holding over you. And then when I diffuse Valor, it's as if somebody opened the windows, let a cool breeze come in, and let the sunshine come in. So it's uplifting like that. It smells absolutely amazing when you diffuse it. And it actually can be used similarly to the Peace and Calming. It is very calming as well. This one is called vetiver. Now, vetiver is one that is a very, very grassy, heavy. It's actually a very heavy oil, to the point of it's almost like a real thick syrupy. So I actually have to hold it in my hand to warm my hand up to get it out. And it mixes extremely well with Valor, Peace and Calming, and Lavender for a good night's sleep. It's called the oil of tranquility. It's helpful in combating blue moods, insomnia, and stress. And I would definitely diffuse this. This one is not to be ingested. So I would definitely diffuse that one. And it blends really well with some of your lighter fragrances because it's heavy and grassy. It blends really well with a lavender that has a lighter scent. So they smell really, really good together. And then frankincense, which we talked about before, is uplifting as well. It's immune system stimulant and it's relaxing. So frankincense will diffuse really, really well with lavender. It will go really well with vetiver. It's probably in the similar. I wouldn't necessarily go with that. So I would say you could diffuse it with a lavender would be really, really good. And it would really help a good night's sleep. Now I'm going to cover incontinence and ED. And there is one essential oil that actually covers both of them. It's called cypress. And I think most of you know what a cypress tree is. So it's cypress, and it actually helps for both. You apply for incontinence, you apply it with a carrier oil. Again, we talked about the coconut at bedtime on the lower abdomen, down basically where your bladder is. So that's where you would apply the, for the incontinence, you would apply the cypress. Now for the ED, cypress has long been known to strengthen blood vessels by increasing their ability to contract and release, which improves the blood flow. So on this one, now I'm going to be talking, when I'm talking about this, I'm going to be talking about different parts of the body. So I'm going to cover this. We have the soldier. Okay, we have the soldier, then we have the genitals, and then we have the lower thigh. So as I talk about these, just know which part I'm talking about here. So on the cypress, what you do is you apply it to the inner thigh as close as you can to the genitals, but you don't want to touch the genitals. So on this one, that's going to stimulate the blood vessels by increasing their ability to basically contract and release. So that, again, cypress is great for both of those, incontinence and ED. Another one that is good for ED is nutmeg. And yes, it is nutmeg like you think of that you put into your eggnog. It's the same thing, but again, it's concentrated. It's extremely concentrated. Now nutmeg, it smells like nutmeg. It smells amazing. On this one, it stimulates energy. So it's very energizing. Physically, it increases circulation. It's the king of healthy vasodilation. So vaso means veins. Need I say more? Don't use in excess. This is one you want to use very light and dilute. Absolutely dilute it. This is one that I would have a caution on. If you have any racing heart or any heart issues, this is one I would stay away from just because it is so energizing. If you don't, then go ahead and use it, but go light and again, dilute it with a carrier oil. Don't apply it to the soldier at all. So it does not go on the soldier, it does not go on the genitals, it goes on the inner thighs. So it can be taken internally if you want, and how it would be taken internally, and I'll pull this out, is gel capsule, and I'm almost done here. Take a gel capsule, put 1 drop in here, and then fill the rest with a olive oil, and then you can actually take it just like you would any other capsule. So we have that, and it can be taken internally. And when you're using it on the thigh, just be careful of your partner. Ylang Ylang. I talked about Ylang Ylang before. It was in one of the mixes. Ylang Ylang has a funny name, but it's a really, it's a beautiful flower. It's almost tropical smelling. It eases depression or that blue mood. It's an aphrodisiac. So this is why it falls under the ED. It actually balances the male and female sexual energies. And as a side benefit, it actually helps to lower the blood pressure. So we would diffuse or inhale this one. And then Idaho blue spruce is another one. Now this one I'm going to have you ask your doctor about, because if you're at the point where you can add testosterone back into your system, this gem of an oil is your go-to. It's called Idaho blue spruce, but do check with your doctor if you're at that point. The oil is designated as generally regarded as safe if you want to ingest it. 3 to 5 drops in a capsule with olive oil a day. Or you can put it on the inner thighs, like we talked about, not on the soldier. So we're definitely going to put it on the inner thighs if you can add that testosterone back in. Because what it does is it's generating natural testosterone. The last couple I'm going to talk about are immune boosting and muscle fatigue. So this is, again, a proprietary blend, and it's called Thieves. It has a blend of essential oils that are known to have the constituents that strengthen your immune system. And this one I ingest, my husband and I actually ingest a drop a day. You can also put it on the bottom of your feet and you can diffuse it. So it can go several different ways. And the reason this is called Thieves is it was used honestly during the 1500s, during the, they didn't call it the pandemic, the epidemic, where the robbers were actually stealing money off the people that had died from this horrible disease that everybody had, but they weren't getting sick. So actually this is derived from what they were using to protect themselves during that particular time. And then the last but not least is Panaway. Panaway is not to be diffused. It's a blend of wintergreen, helichrysum, clove, and peppermint. And it's to be applied. It's wonderful for muscle and body fatigue. It's absolutely wonderful. You do want to mix it with a carrier oil and rub it on the different areas of your body that are fatigued, whether it's your back, whether it's your gluteus, whether it's your calves, whether it's your arms. So anything like that would be great. And now that I've run through those very fast, we have just a few minutes that, because that concludes my presentation. So Jeanette, if you have any questions from anybody, absolutely send them my way.
Yeah, I have a couple for you here. First question is, what is a great, easy mix for stress? So I know you talked about lavender being great for sleep and getting that rest, but during these times where, you know, some of us are still at home or maybe going back to work and feeling that anxiety and stress, what is like maybe a go-to for that? It's a simple like 1 ingredient or 2 ingredient mix.
You know, I don't know that I would do a mix. I would actually do peace and calming, which is already pre-mixed. If you really want to mix, you could do lavender and vetiver, but it might put you to sleep because it's so calming. But you could do lavender and vetiver, but honestly, the pre-mixed is actually simpler with the peace and calming. And like I said, that's what I diffuse on a daily basis. So that would be my go-to.
Okay. You also mentioned that you have to be careful with the type of oils that you buy so that you're getting the grade A, correct?
Mm-hmm.
How much would grade A typically cost?
Golly, you know, I buy them and I don't know. So let me look for you, because I actually don't recall. Let me look it up.
No problem.
Let me look it up and I'll give you some idea. And there's different ways to buy them. You can run to the drugstore, like I said, and buy them and get a lavender for $5. So I'm going to give you but again, it's not going to do what it's supposed to do, because it's not going to have all the constituents. So it's going to give you some of that, but it's not going to give you all of that. So let me give you a comparison. So like I said, you can probably go to the drugstore or to a Sprouts or something and buy a lavender for, I would say maybe not $5, but probably $10 to $15. For me, it cost me $24 to buy it. So it's usually about double, but then again, how many drops of oil do you have to put in your diffuser to make it work? I put in probably 2 to 3 in my diffuser, where if it was a cheaper one with an extender, I'm probably going to have to put 5 to 10. So you're still balancing out the difference. And if you get with a good company, and I'll name a couple, and these are only 2. Young Living and doTERRA are the only 2 that I feel comfortable with. And I represent Young Living, but the only reason I feel comfortable about that is because I know of how they're actually farmed. And when you go with these 2 companies, you have 2 ways you can purchase. You can purchase retail, or you can get a wholesale membership. Your wholesale membership can be gotten fairly inexpensively as a way to get into that company and buy and get what's called a starter kit. And that's typically the best way to start yourself out on essential oils, because you're going to get, with our company, basically, you get $400 worth of oils for $165. So it gets you entered in there, and then you buy. So it's $24 versus $32. So it's just, you know, some options, but hopefully that lets you know kind of the difference between a lavender, because lavender, I know, can be. Now the other one that's real pricey, a frankincense, can be pricey. A frankincense, what typically comes in our starter kit, but a frankincense compared to a lavender is, just looking, is roughly about $75. So it just depends on the oil.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it depends on how precious it is and what they have to do to get it. Lavender is very prevalent. And frankincense can only be gotten from age-old trees in the middle of the desert. So just different things. So.
Yeah, and then you answered one of the questions, which top 3 would you recommend, but you went with 2, and that's great. So we have 2, and for those of you that are just tuning in, I will be sending out a recap email, and I will be adding those 2 in the email. So if you feel like you didn't catch that, or you don't know how to write it down, don't worry, that will be emailed out. And then another question is, with the oil, so for example, like if you are stressed or you're having anxiety, is there a good way to have like a second part to reach maximum relaxation or calmness? So for example, so if you take, because I know you said you can also drink it, right? Or swallow it.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be able to pair that up with like meditation or some type of exercise to reach?
Yeah, I mean, you could. You would do peace and calming. The ones I suggested, the peace and calming, the stress away, and the Valor, which are blends that are very calming. Those I wouldn't ingest, and I don't think that ingesting is going to help you anymore. Diffusing it, you could diffuse it multiple times during the day. I diffuse for about an hour, but I would start with 15 minutes, and then you can work your way up. But you could do it multiple times a day. So you could do it morning, mid-morning, noon. I mean, if you're on a constant, I'm just constantly on stress level, then you could do it multiple times. You could do deep breathing. You could do mindfulness, which is basically, mindfulness is a whole other subject. And I think you've actually had something on mindfulness. I think you have something on mindfulness already, so they might refer to that. But mindfulness is realizing that I'm stressed and saying, okay, I am stressed, therefore I need to realize that and I need to do something about it. So I think that's the first thing, is doing that. And you can be mindful. I'm going to give you a real quick example. For myself, I run on high level, and what it was doing is was causing my blood pressure to raise, which is basically your body saying, reacting to what's the outside. And so what I had to realize is I diffused the peace and calming, it brought me down, but then I had to realize, okay, I'm breathing too fast. So I have to take deep breaths during the day. So I had to do that. I also realized I was eating fast. So I have to eat slower. So all of these things kind of go together, and you can do all of those things to basically take you down those notches. Another thing that's great is just walking, just getting out and walking and being outside rather than inside. So gardening, anything you like to do. So
You also mentioned jewelry. How effective do you think that is?
Essential oil jewelry has, and I didn't bring any here with me, it has what's called a lava stone on it. And the lava stone will actually hold the oil for probably about half of the day. If it's jewelry around your neck, you can inhale, you can smell it most of the day. I actually have earrings that have the beads on them. And so that's really, really close up to my face, to my nose, and that's really helpful. I find if I have it on a bracelet, which there are a lot of bracelets, and I can't smell it because my arm's down here. Yes, it is close to, it is getting into my system, but as far as getting into my moods and emotions, I actually have to lift it up like this. And I will do that. Sometimes I'll just lift it up during the day, but I will have to lift it up. And it does work, but again, it's similar to, there are also car diffusers. So if you're in your car, you can use that too. But it's similar to this. If I lift this up just for a minute and inhale it, yes, it helps, but it doesn't help as much as if I was diffusing it for 15 minutes or if I was tenting this for 5. Does that kind of answer it?
Yes. Another question is, how long do I need to use the oils to feel the difference?
I would say equate it to exercising. If you go into the gym once a week and you were to do squats, I'll just make it squats because it's easy. Typically, you can feel after the first few times you've done the squats, you can feel your glutes like burning. But You really haven't, but if you turn around and look at the back, you're like, but I didn't do anything, nothing happened. So essential oils are very similar to exercise routine. It's going to take you, I'm going to close, you guys are getting a total, there. You're getting my, my sunset there. Basically, essential oils, they're consistent. So stay consistent and you will start seeing results, I would say, in 2 to 4 weeks. But if you stop, it's going to be like exercising. You stopped and everything's going to go away because you're keeping up that wellness routine. So it's a consistency, but 2 to 4 weeks, you'll start to see something. You could feel better by diffusing lavender and go to sleep the first night just like that. So you may see it that quickly.
Great. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to chime in. I don't see any more on there. Is there anything else, Debbie, that you'd like to share with us on maybe a way, like a quick little tip on how to deal with stress and pairing it up, or whatever you'd like? Any last?
Last couple minutes, last 3 minutes. Basically what I do to relieve stress is I do diffuse daily. I exercise daily, eating right, making sure you get outside, making sure you open the windows, get some fresh air, even if it's hot, get that fresh air. I know my husband this morning, he had all the blinds pulled, and I said, honey, I know it'll keep the house cooler, but I get depressed. So I open the blinds. So open the blinds. The other thing is watch something uplifting. Don't watch something on TV that is intense. If you're depressed, even though that's what you're drawn to, don't watch it. Watch a sitcom, find something fun. So I would just say, you know, force yourself out of that. And no, I took a long drive last weekend. I actually recently lost my mom, and 4 weeks ago, and last Sunday was the last day that it was a month. So I had felt numb. So I actually took Peace and Calming, put it in the car, and put music on and just drove. And it was very cathartic. So anything you need to do, just force yourself out of that. So.
Oh, wow, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for your loss.
Oh, no problem. She's 94. Thankfully, she lived a wonderful life. And I want to thank everybody for joining. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much our last question. For those of you that just tuned in not too long ago, we will be distributing the video and sharing all the information you might have missed. I want to thank you, Debbie, for coming on here.
Thank you, guys.
Time and sharing your knowledge with us. So with that said, I hope everyone has a great night and have a calming, relaxing moment to yourself to bring a little bit of peace. And look out for that recap email for tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a good night. Bye, Debbie.
Bye.